Okay, let's talk about multiplication. Let's start with a very basic question. Let's start with something like 3 times 5. Okay, well, hopefully this one you know off by heart is 15, but how would say that, if we went back 10,000 years or so, how would people have to figure this out? Well, first off, what does it mean? 3 times 5, that means either it means 5 threes or it means 3 fives. Let's do it as 3 fives. So we're going to use the sunflower seeds again. So there's a 5 and I need 3 of them. So let's put another one down. There's 3 and 2 more. So that's another 5. And then here we go. Putting down another 5. So here we go. We now have 3 5s. And if we count these up, we will see there's indeed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 sunflower seeds. So 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, so the reason I'm starting out here is to emphasize that single-digit multiplication, there's no trick for other than just you have to learn the multiplication table. There are tricks for individual pairs of numbers. There's the trick with the 9 times table, for example. So if I had, say, 9 times 6, what you do is you put down your 6th finger, which, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so this one, and then you look, okay, at your 2 hands, and we have 5 and 4 fingers. So in that case, 9 times 6 is 54. Okay, let's try that one more time for the 9 times table. If I had 9 times, say, 8, I'm going to put down my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th finger. So put it down like that and see, okay, so this is now the break. On this side I have 7 fingers and on this side I have 2 fingers. So 9 times 8 is 72. Now, this only works when we're multiplying by 9. Okay, so it's one of those tricks. It's a nice trick for multiplying by 9. There are tricks for other numbers. Multiplying by 2 is pretty easy because it's just adding, right? But I'm not going to teach all of those tricks right now. I might mention those in class for some of them. Okay, but it is your responsibility to know how to multiply single digits, okay? So if you have to draw things out like this, it will take a long time, so I suggest that you practice, and start memorizing your multiplication table. And this is one of the rare times where I will use the M word of memorization. I don't like talking about memorizing in math, okay, but sometimes with the multiplication table, to make things quick, it's just best to do that. Okay, let's kick it up a notch and look at what is basically the same question. But let's now say 30 times 50. Okay, so 30 times 50 rather than 3 times 5. Well, what does that mean? Well, what I can do now is say that each of these single sunflower seeds, each of these single sunflower seeds represents 10, but it doesn't quite work that way. It represents 10 in this direction and 10 in this direction. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 going in this direction, and 10, 20, 30 going in this direction could be one way of looking at it. Okay, but in that case, one sunflower seed is really representing 10 sunflower seeds in one direction. Of course, well, I could just put them all out, but no, I'm scrapping that idea. Instead, I'm just going to use the fact that I have graph paper here, and that will make things a lot nicer. If I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if I have a 10 by 10 grid like this, if this is 10 and this is 10, then of course, let's see, did I count that right? Yep, yep. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I went too far. Okay, so if I have a 10 by 10 grid, then how many squares do I have? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 98, 99, 100. So there's 100 squares, right? And that's not surprising. That goes back to how the decimal system of numbers works, right? If I take 10 tens, that makes the next step up in the system. So we have 100. Okay, cool. So what happens here? Well, that means that each of these individual, what am I saying here? That means that each of these individual sunflower seeds actually represents 100 sunflower seeds now, if I'm talking about 30 times 50. So 30 times 50. So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,500. So that's 1,500 is my answer. So okay, so how did I do that? Well, let's now look at what would happen if I had a unit, something in the units column. So let's look at, let's say 35 times 50. Okay, so to do this, what am I going to do? Well, is this what I want to do? You know what? No. I want to rearrange that just so that for teaching reasons, because I would rather have the units in the bottom. So let's try that again. So I'm going to have 50 times 35. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is say, all right, that's going to be 5 50s, okay, and then 30 50s. Okay, so let me just write down what I said there. That is 5 times 50 and 30 times 50, right? Okay, so what is 5 times 50? Well, I know that, so 5 is just units, so when I multiply 5 times 50, I'm going to get just 5, well, 50 plus 50 is 50, so it's the same as 5 times 5, and then a 0 at the end, right? So that becomes 250. So I have 5 times 50 is 250. And then 30 times 50, what does that end up being? Well, 30 times 50, I know what that is already. It is 1,500. So I add those numbers together to get my whole answer. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 5 plus 0 is 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, and 1 plus nothing is 1. So I get 1,750, or 1,750 is the answer there. So that should be a comma. There we go. All right. So now, what if I had a number in the units column for 50? So let's say this is 52 times 35. Okay, we're going to do the same thing as before. I'm now going to say, okay, 5 times 52, that's going to be the number that goes here. Okay, so what is 5 times 52? Well, okay, hang on. We can break this up even more. 5 times 52, that's going to be 5 times 50, and 5 times 2. Okay, so 5 times 50, right? That's the 250 that we had before, and 5 times 2 is 10. So let's write that down, starting from this side. 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, so there's going to be a 0, and then we're going to add that to this 5 times 50. So 5 times 50 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. So 5 times 52 is 260. Okay, hopefully you're following. Now, let's now say the next step is going to be 30 times 52. Okay, well, same idea as before, as what we did up here. This is 30 times 50 plus 30 times 2. So what I'm going to do now is take this 3, which really represents 30, and multiply it times 2. Well, 3 times 2 is 6. 30 times 2 is 60, right? So what we often do is just say, hey, put a 0 here because I'm multiplying by a factor of, well, this is really 30, so it's a factor of 10, so there will be a 0 here. And now we can just think of this as a 3. So this is 3 times 2, okay, and that is 6. And then 3 times 5. Notice this 1 was from before, so I don't think about this now. So 3 times 5 is 15. So that's the 1,500 that we had before of the 30 times 50, so from over here, plus the 5 times 2, sorry, not the 5 times 2, the 30 times 2 that we have here. Okay, so now we add all this together. 0 plus 0 is once again 0. 6 plus 6, that is 12. So we're going to put a 2, carry the 1, just because this is adding like we've done before. And then 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8, and then we have a 1. So 52 times 35 is 1,820. Okay. All right. So let's do a few more multiplication examples for practice. Okay. All right, and we won't worry so much about breaking things down, and we'll worry about just handling it with the algorithm. All right. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. We're going to multiply a 4-digit number times a 3-digit number. Okay, and we're going to write down the steps that we need to do. Okay, so like with addition and subtraction, the first thing that you need to remember is that you start on the right. Okay, so we're starting with the units column. So we're going to start here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our units, so the 7, and multiply it by the upper number. And then we're going to take the tens column, so which is going to be 20, right? This 2 represents 20, and multiply it by the upper number. And then we're going to take the hundreds column, so 700, and multiply it by this upper number, and write all those down, and then add them all together, and that will be our solution. So here we go. Let me write down the next step that we're about to do. We're going to take the lower number unit times the upper number. Okay, so here we go. 7 times 8 is, well, let me think. 8 times 8 is 64. Let's subtract 8 from that to get 56. So we write down 6, and the 5 gets carried up here, right? Because it's 6 units and 5 tens. So we need to remember, okay, 5 tens. Now, 7 times 5, that's 35, but then we add 5 because we have another 5 tens. So remember what's really happening here is I have 7 times 50, which is 350, plus another 50 to get 400, but we often just think of it as 40 tens, if that makes any sense. So we've got 40 tens, okay, and now the next one, 7 times 2 hundreds, right? Well, 7 times 2 is 14, and then plus 4 more hundreds that we have left over from our other working out. So 7 times 2 is 14, plus 4 is 18. And then 7 times 1,000 is, of course, 7,000, but then we've got another 1,000 left over, so that gets us 8,000. So 7 times 1,258 is 8,806. Okay, so that's great. So now step 3 is just going to be the same step, pretty much, but the lower number tens space times the upper number. So remember, this is saying 727. So what I'm looking at now is I'm going to multiply by 20. So I'm multiplying by 20. So if I multiply anything that is a factor of 100, factor of 10, if I multiply anything with a factor of 10, there will be a 0. That we begin with, and then it's just a matter of multiplying by 2. So we have 2 times 8. Okay, well, 2 times 8 is 16. Now, we're going to carry the 1. Notice these numbers up here, that was from carrying when we were multiplying by 7. We don't need those numbers anymore. They are not useful. So now we're on a new mission. So 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1, and now 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, right? 2 times 2 is 4. Hold on, where was I? 11, I forgot to carry the 1. Be careful, okay? Things like this is how we make mistakes. So 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, so what I've just done there, 20 times 1,258 is 25,160. That's where we're at so far. And now last thing, I'm going to multiply by 700, right? So rather than saying, oh, do the hundreds and the thousands or whatever, I'm just going to write an and so on, ... right? Just each successive, right? But remember, this is 700, so I need to put in 2 zeros, right? Because when I multiply by 100, there will always be 2 zeros at the in the units and the tens column. So now, 7 times 8, well, notice I've already multiplied 1,258 by 7 before. So sometimes we get lucky and we can do that and say, hey, I already know what this number is going to be. It's going to be, well, 6088 in reverse order, so 6088 like that. So that means that 700 times 1,258 is, let's see, 880,600. Okay, cool. So now what I've got here, I've got 700 times the number, 20 times the number, and 7 times the number. If I add them up, I will get 727 times the number. So let's do that. 6 plus 0 is 6, 0 plus 6 plus 0 is 6, 8 plus 1 plus 6, well, 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 6 is 15, carrying the 1, 8 plus 5 plus 1, so that is 14, Let's see, 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 1 is 11, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So 727 times 1,258 is 914,566. And that is how we multiply large numbers.